Hello everybody, my name is Vanessa Oly and I'm a fertility nutritionist and health coach here on behalf of Hair Fertility. And we are going to answer some of your fertility questions that were submitted ahead of time. Thank you to everybody who submitted a question. I will get through as many as I possibly can today in our next 15 minutes or so together. And if you had any other questions that weren't answered today, you can always send us a message afterwards and we will do our very best to get back to you. We'll respond and we'll give you all the information you need to make sure that you are feeling confident on your fertility journey. Okay, so before I dive into these questions, one thing that I want you to remember and just be thinking about, because when we are talking about fertility, optimizing fertility for conception, we want to get pregnant, stay pregnant, have a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby, bring that baby to term. I want you to remember that your healthiest body is your most fertile body. So whether we're talking about female or male fertility, that is one theme that I'm going to come back to as I go through and I answer all of these questions to help to cut through a little bit of the stress, because I am sure if you are in that preconception phase, you are trying to get pregnant, you have probably done a lot of Google searching, you have a lot of questions that are unanswered, and there's probably a lot of confusion that you're feeling right now. So I'm hopefully gonna cut through some of that, gonna give you some really tangible, easy things to implement, to walk away with. And I'm also gonna discuss, because some of these questions as well, we're talking about what not to do and what you can actively avoid. I'm also gonna discuss some things that you don't necessarily need to worry about to help hopefully free you a little bit so that you're not feeling as stressed out when we are talking about getting your body in that most optimal stage for conception, whether we're talking about male or female fertility. Okay, so let's dive into some questions. Number one, very commonly asked question is, what foods should we be focusing on when trying to conceive? What foods to avoid for men and women? So again, coming back to that principle that your healthiest body is going to be your most fertile body. You do not need to go on a fertility diet, any type of cleanse. You don't need to do anything that's overly restrictive. We are going to go for sustainability here, consistency, and making your body feel amazing, giving your body what it needs. So the foundation of your nutrition is going to be whole foods. We're going to get into supplements in a little bit because it is very difficult to get enough and all of your nutrients that your body needs from foods. I'm a nutritionist and I still need to take supplements from time to time. So I understand if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the food situation. So even if you are eating beautifully whole foods all the time, we're still going to talk a little bit about supplementation and how that can help you. But when we are talking about food itself, number one, whole foods. The number one thing that I want you to focus on is, can I eat as many whole foods as possible? We are talking about high quality protein like meat and fish. We love dairy if you can tolerate it. All kinds of vegetables, whole food starches. So we're looking at rice, quinoa, couscous, things like that, squash, sweet potato, etc. Anything that is a whole food. So when you are in the produce section of the grocery store, the meat section, or the fish section, dairy section, all of those things are great. If we're gonna go for processed foods or things that come in a box or a bag, we're just gonna look for as few ingredients as possible. We want it as close to whole foods as possible. So you can of course have things like crackers and protein bars and all that stuff, but the majority of your nutrition should be whole foods. So that is number one, as opposed to thinking, okay, I need to cut out sugar for the rest of my life or until we're pregnant, or I need to avoid specific foods. I want you to think about what you can add. Your goal is to add as many whole foods to your plate as possible. And when we look at what your plate should look like, I like this little breakdown. So if you can picture your plate in front of you, we want to have at least about a fist size of protein, ideally about the size of your hand. That might feel like a lot of protein for those of you who are under eating protein. Women notoriously under eat protein, but just as a society, we under eat it, or we tend to. So at least a fist, ideally a hand size of protein on your plate. That's usually about 5 to 6 ounces if you do want to take some time and track or measure your food just to make sure that you are getting enough protein. That's a great tool and a great idea. But if you look at your plate, we want at least the fist size of protein. I want you to have at least 1 or 2 veggies on that plate. Don't be picky. Whatever vegetables you like, if you like them cooked, if you like them raw, whatever you prefer. There is a lot in the fertility world where we get into the nitty-gritty that is a little bit too extreme, and then people say, oh, I can only have cooked vegetables, or I can only eat these vegetables, I can only eat salads. Any vegetable that you enjoy, have it on the plate, cook it the way you like. If we are roasting or cooking in oils, make sure we are using an olive oil or a butter or a coconut oil. Try to steer clear of the canola oils, the general vegetable oils, sunflower oil, etc. Make sure you're cooking in a healthy fat. That's a good, easy swap that you can make. That's very helpful for your fertility and just your overall health. And then you want to make sure you've got carbs on that plate as well. So we love carbs. You don't have to get rid of your carbs. You don't need to go carnivore or keto. Carbohydrates are amazing. They are essential to your hormone production. Progesterone, one of your main female hormones, thrives off of carbohydrates, and we need to make sure we have enough to not only get pregnant, but stay pregnant, carry a healthy baby to term. And then when we look at other hormones, they are made of cholesterol, they're made of fat, they're made of protein. So making sure that we are not shying away from our protein or our healthy fats or things like eggs. Eggs are a fertility superfood. All of those things I want to see on your plate. And then the final thing is just making sure you've got a fat source. So I mentioned before some really good ones: olive oil, coconut oil, butter, just natural fats from dairy or meat or fish are all great. And you're going to usually cook your food in that kind of oil or fat anyway, so you don't usually have to add it in at the end. Usually something on your plate is cooked, but if everything is raw, or if you haven't used any oil to cook, you did something in an air fryer, you can always add on a little bit of olive oil to garnish. That would be a great way to round out your plate. So when we're looking at your plate, whole foods as much as possible, and you're having protein, at least the size of your fist, at least 1 or 2 veggies, and at least 1 source of carbohydrates on that plate, and we make that nice healthy plate with a little bit of fat in there as well. The other thing I will say about nutrition before we move on to the next question is regular meal times are very important. This is for men and women, but specifically women in our fertile years, we do not do as well with intermittent fasting or skipping meals as men do. Men also, sometimes if they are in that intermittent fasting world, they really go too long without food and they're not getting enough nourishment, not enough calories, protein, fat, healthy food for their bodies each day. So making sure that you have consistent meals throughout your day, your body's on a nice regular schedule and routine is a really great idea. So I will map this out for you just with an example that I find is really helpful with my clients. And if you aren't necessarily very hungry to start to have regular meal times, and your body will become more hungry over time. Your body is a routine machine. It learns when to expect food. You'll notice you'll get more hungry the more you feed yourself, and this is a good thing. So you wake up in the morning, you want to have a good high fat, high protein breakfast within ideally that first 1 to 2 hours of waking. If you are a female in your fertile years, ideally that first hour. If you're a male, you can push it a little bit, 1 to 2 hours of waking. Again, you do a little bit better having some of that intermittent fasting or going a bit longer without food. A good quality breakfast, we're looking at eggs, some breakfast sausage with minimal ingredients. I love doing some carrot sticks or peppers or some kind of veggie with that. Having cottage cheese is great. A Greek yogurt bowl is awesome. You can do a really high protein smoothie with a bunch of different ingredients if you like it. If you're gonna do oatmeal, we can add some protein in there, a little protein powder, or have some yogurt on the side to round out that meal. All of those are some great options. And then about 4 to 6 hours later, you want to have your second meal. So this is really important when we're talking about fertility, preparing for pregnancy, but then also carrying a healthy pregnancy to term, making sure that you are checking in on those hunger cues and you're eating enough food. So you should be hungry every 4 to 6 hours. That is a good thing. That is a sign that your metabolism is strong, that your body is healthy, your hormones are working. That is a really, really great thing. You may also be much more hungry than that if you are pregnant. So don't worry if you want to eat more than every 4 hours, that's totally fine. But when we're talking about the preconception time, we want to eat a full meal every 4 to 6 hours. So no more skipping meals, no only snacking at lunch. We want a full meal, like with that plate that I mentioned, the protein, the veggies, the healthy fats, and the carbs all in that plate every 4 to 6 hours. So full breakfast, full lunch, full dinner, repeat every single day. If you just focused on whole foods, nailing that plate and eating consistently every 4 to 6 hours, you are going to be great. You don't really have to worry about all the other stuff when it comes to nutrition. Have that be your main focus. And until you are absolutely perfect or you are nailing that, I don't want you to really be thinking about the additional stuff. All of that is really, really straightforward and will be the bulk of the work when we are talking about fertility and preparing for pregnancy. Okay, next thing. What supplements do you recommend most often? How do you know what's right for you? Another fantastic question, because everybody and their mother is trying to sell you a fertility supplement. A lot of them are not backed by research or backed by science, and they are poor quality, if I'm being frank. So many supplements are not third-party tested. So this is number one. I want you to look at the supplement aisle, assuming that most of them are not giving you what they say is in the bottle, because unfortunately, most supplements are not, or all supplements are not third-party regulated. So if, for example, there is a male fertility multivitamin on the shelf, unless there is proof of third-party testing that they test for purity, they test to make sure everything is in that bottle, that could be vitamin C. That could be something completely different. And unfortunately, that company is not going to get penalized for that. There's no regulation when it comes to supplements. So be very wary that a lot of people are trying to sell you something. They're trying to profit off of the fact that we don't know what supplements to take. We are desperate when we're trying to get pregnant. We want to do what's best for our bodies, and they are going to capitalize on that. So some companies and supplements that I genuinely love and use in my practice: the Thorne Prenatal, fantastic. The We Natal supplements for men and women. So I am a big proponent of men also getting on a good quality, high potency multivitamin that is going to be helpful for their sperm production before trying to conceive, or at the very least while you are trying to conceive. Both of those are massively helpful because there are going to be nutrients in there that are helpful for sperm quality, for sperm regeneration, motility, etc. But also on the female counterpart, for making sure ovaries are working properly, making sure all of your hormones are balanced. Similar to what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, remember your healthiest body is your most fertile body. So when we're talking about supplements, we basically just want to be bridging some gaps, any nutrient gaps or deficiencies you have. And there's a lot of robust, fantastic research showing us that our fat-soluble vitamins, vitamins A, D, E, and K, your B vitamins, your folate, your vitamin C, all of those things, your zinc, magnesium, all of those nutrients for both men and women are very supportive of fertility. So the Thorne Prenatal I love, the We Natal for him and her, fantastic. I would also make sure you are taking an omega-3. And omega-3 is very important to make sure that your inflammation levels stay low, fantastic for both female and male fertility. But again, a lot of our omega-3 supplements on the market are rancid. If you get fishy burps from taking an omega-3 or a fish oil, or you notice that it smells really bad, or when you take it, it tastes really bad, it's probably rancid, and unfortunately a lot of them are. So some brands that I really love are Carlson. I love Nordic Naturals for this as well. Thorne is also fantastic. Any one of those is great. And then the last thing I will say is a good quality magnesium supplement. This you can take before bed. So the other two you'll take during the day with food. Magnesium you can take before bed. Again, men and women, everybody needs magnesium, and a lot of us are deficient in this. Taking this before bed, and magnesium glycinate, my favorite is pure encapsulations. One thing I will say with all of this, please check with your doctor. I am a nutritionist, but I am not your nutritionist. I don't know what's best for your body. These are just general recommendations that I find work best with a lot of clients and just based on the research, but please check with your doctor and make sure you're doing what's right for you. When it comes to how you know exactly what you need, this is where getting testing done is very helpful. So blood work is great to take a look at your nutrient stores. You can also go even further and get some functional testing done. You can get a Dutch test. You can get a hair HTMA test, which is a hair tissue mineral analysis done. You can do a bunch of additional testing and work with a functional medicine practitioner if that's right for you. And that is going to tell you specific things that you are deficient in that are potentially getting in the way of your progress or getting in the way of you optimizing your fertility for the long haul. Okay, we have a question here. Is magnesium before bed fine to take without food? Yes, you can take magnesium before bed. You don't need to take it with food. That's a great question. And it's going to help you sleep. It's going to help you wake up feeling more rested, access those deeper stages of sleep. Don't worry about taking it with food. But if you do want to, you can take it with dinner. It's not really this or that. You have to do it. But I do find it's best taken in the evening, typically a couple hours at least after dinner. Okay, we talked about some supplements. Can things like poor sleep or over-exercising throw off hormonal balance? Yes, absolutely. So again, your healthiest body is your most fertile body. We want to talk about your health and wellness as the priority. So we are looking at regular exercise. We're going to find that Goldilocks zone. Not too much, not too little. Walking every single day. One of my favorite things to work with clients on is getting them on a morning walk every single day. This is going to give you more energy throughout the day. It is fantastic for fertility and overall hormone balance for both men and women. It's going to help with your sleep quality at night, making sure you're actually tired, you're falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up feeling rested. And then again, the next day, you're going to get in that routine. You're going to look forward to that morning walk. It is a beautiful thing to do. Try to go for 10 minutes, no sunglasses on within that first hour of waking, or if you get up before the sun rises, wait until the sun is up, pop out on a little walk. Even if you can't get on a walk, stepping outside on your porch, patio, on a balcony, or your backyard is also fantastic. Just getting any type of natural light through your eyes first thing in the morning does wonders for your body and also your fertility. And then again, the sleep quality, very important. Some other things I will say is when it comes to sleep, we typically want to get about 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Typically, men or women do need more sleep than men. Unfortunately for us, we do need a little bit more sleep. And often in that second half of your cycle, that week before your period, you need even more sleep. So you really won't sleep too much. Try to go to bed as early as you're tired and then wake up without an alarm whenever you can. Get into that routine. Try to be as regular as possible. A good thing to shoot for would be falling asleep by 11 p.m. every night. Making sure that you're getting to sleep by then is a great goal. And then trying not to wake up before 7 so that you get those 8 hours. Usually you need to be in bed a little bit longer in order to get those full 8 hours. So just give yourself a little bit of time. If you notice you're still waking up feeling tired, try to move that alarm a little later or move that bedtime a little bit earlier. But anywhere from that 7 to 9 hours of sleep is a really great goal to shoot for. When it comes to the exercise, I mentioned the walks every day, ideally a morning walk. I also love pairing walks after meals. Great way to support digestion, hormone balance, blood sugar, all of these things that help to support your fertility. So a morning walk, quick walk after lunch, quick walk after dinner. This is also a great way to spend some time with your partner in the evening. You can keep each other accountable, talk about your health goals as you are working towards conception and having a baby. This is a very exciting time. So you want to make sure you're checking in with each other, focusing on your health, doing whatever you can to optimize your fertility. With the exercise, when it comes to working out, really great goal to shoot for is exercising about 3 times a week to start. That is great. If you can lift heavy weights or do some kind of strength training or weightlifting about 3 times a week, fantastic goal. If you can only do 1 or 2, still do that, but your optimal point would be ideally about 3 full body workouts per week. That's what I'd like you to work up to if you really want to maximize on those health benefits for both men and women. Women, you can lift nice heavy weights. Men, absolutely. That is how we get your testosterone up. We balance out all of your hormones. We have you feel amazing, and all of that is very helpful for your sperm production as well. Okay, so we've talked about some nutrition, some supplements. We have talked about sleep and exercise. I'm going to answer one more question. And then again, if you've got any others, just shoot us a message privately and we will answer your questions about fertility. How can you tell if you have a hormone imbalance? What are some signs? So this is another great question. So in the female side of things, we're looking at your cycle. So number 1, your cycle, your period should come every 24 to 36 days. You should roughly get it once a month. If it's coming too quickly, too soon, less than 24 days, your periods are less than 24 days apart, not a good sign. If they are longer than 36 days apart, also not a good sign. So you can track that super easy on just your health app on your phone. My favorite cycle tracking app is called Read Your Body. If you want to get into a little bit more depth, you want to be using ovulation tests and all that, that is my favorite app to use, that I use across the board with all my clients. And we're looking at the quality of your period. It should be about 3 to 7 days in length. You should have a nice regular flow, not too heavy, not too light. So if you're bleeding through more than 5 or 6 products, so pads, tampons, or you're having to dump out your menstrual cup multiple times a day, that typically is too heavy of a flow. If you are only ever filling a panty liner, that's typically too light. So we want to make sure that you are in that Goldilocks zone. Second thing is you want to be ovulating every month. You can track that with ovulation tests, with cervical fluid, things like that. If you want more resources on that, we can always provide that to you. Just send us a message. And then number 3, you want to make sure you have minimal PMS symptoms. So you should feel a little bit more tired as your period approaches, maybe a little bit more irritable, but you shouldn't have very tender breasts. You shouldn't have a ton of cramps. You should not be in a depression or feeling super, super anxious. Nothing that impacts your day-to-day life. You should be able to continue on your day per normal. You just might be a little bit more tired, a little bit more lethargic as your period comes and when you're on your period. If your symptoms are more than about a 1 to 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, that is too much. You need support. That is your hormones telling you they are out of balance. Typically your estrogen, progesterone hormones, that are the things that regulate your ovulation, your period, etc. For men, we also want to look again at your overall health. So how are your energy levels? How is your sex drive? How is your erection? All of those things are very, very important to consider when we are looking at your overall hormonal health. I also would look at your sleep as well. Are you falling asleep, staying asleep over the night and waking up feeling rested? A lot of men are feeling very lethargic. They are very sluggish, low energy, but they also notice they are quite anxious. The sex drive is low, the motivation is low. All of these are signs that your hormones are out of balance and we need to work to rebalance those things. It's not always just your testosterone hormone that influences your sperm quality and your fertility. We're also looking at all of your other hormones like estrogen. You also produce things like cortisol. We want to look at your stress hormones, your fertility hormones, everything in a holistic view to make sure that your body is healthy, that you are feeling energized and you are nice and fertile. So all of these things can be worked on. Thankfully, and this was another question we had that I'll actually just kind of wrap in here. Thankfully, when it comes to male fertility, you regenerate your sperm typically every 3-ish months. It depends, and it depends on your lifestyle factors and just your unique individual body. But roughly every 3 months, you are creating completely new sperm. It goes through the maturation phase and then it's ejaculated out. So if you are in that preconception phase or you are trying to conceive, you can actually notice completely beautiful and significant results from your lifestyle changes within the first 3 months of making these changes. So if you are working to have your most healthy body, we're also looking at reducing any type of smoking, marijuana or tobacco, any of that stuff, no cigarettes, no marijuana, no smoking in general, reducing your alcohol consumption, making sure you're working out, getting enough sleep, following some of those nutrition steps I mentioned earlier on, you can regenerate completely new sperm. For our female counterparts, we have all the eggs we'll ever have. Yes, we can improve the quality of our cycles and our eggs, but we actually can't make new ones. So this is why it's important for us to both, men and women, focus on our fertility. But men, you can regenerate sperm every 3 months and have completely new sperm, which is really exciting if that is a focus for you and you're trying to focus on your fertility. We also want to make sure we bring in some testing. So for female fertility testing, you can do blood work and an ultrasound to make sure everything is looking good, your ovaries, your fallopian tubes, etc. For men, you can do in-clinic testing or at-home testing. So we have the male fertility test kit where you do it completely at home, send it to the lab, get your results back. And that is a full semen analysis that is going to give you everything you'd need to know, just as if you went into the clinic, but you can do it at home. You can do it every 3 months. That's something that we recommend with all of our patients, just making sure that they are keeping on track with their progress and just with their overall fertility. Okay, I'm going to close this video out. Thank you so much for those of you who attended. If you have any other questions that we didn't answer, please send us a message and we will get back to you. Thanks, everybody.